The rain that night fell in soft sheets against the windows of the Miller family home, as though the skies themselves were mourning what was about to be lost. Inside the warmly lit living room, Jessica Miller folded the last of the laundry and stacked it on the couch beside her husband, David. They had been married for 17 years and had 2 children, Olivia, 16, and Ethan, 12. Their home was modest but filled with the laughter, chaos, and comfort that marked a happy, functioning family. David worked as a middle school principal, known for his calm demeanor and fair leadership. Jessica, once a nurse, had left her job after Ethan was born to care for the children and manage the household. Life wasn't perfect, but it was steady, predictable, and filled with moments that mattered. The change began subtly. David had been working late more often, returning home exhausted, distracted, and unusually quiet. Jessica, initially patient, began to feel the distance. He wasn't angry, just absent. At first, she attributed it to work stress. But one evening, as she leaned in to kiss him, she noticed he flinched slightly, not in disgust, but discomfort. Her instincts buzzed. Jessica had always trusted her gut, and this time it screamed that something was off. She resisted the urge to snoop, but when David started guarding his phone like it was classified material, her anxiety became suspicion. She waited until one night he was in the shower. His phone, for once, was left on the nightstand. Her hands trembled as she picked it up, her heart racing, unsure if she really wanted confirmation. What she found shattered her. Text messages from a woman named Amanda lit up the screen. Flirtatious words, intimate photos, and worst of all, the familiarity of an ongoing affair. Jessica recognized the name. Amanda was a teacher at David's school. The betrayal seared through her like a knife. She didn't confront him immediately. She spent the next few days observing, collecting herself, and trying to make sense of what had happened. She couldn't understand how a man who had been so devoted, so grounded, could step so far outside the lines of their vows. The worst part wasn't the infidelity, it was that he had lied every day, right under her nose. When she finally did confront him, he didn't deny it. David sat on the edge of their bed, guilt etched into every line of his face. He admitted that the affair had started 6 months ago. Amanda had been going through a divorce and leaned on him for support. One late-night conversation led to another, and before he realized it, they had crossed a line. Jessica felt like her entire world had cracked open. She cried, yelled, demanded answers he couldn't give. David insisted he still loved her, that it was a mistake, that he wanted to repair the damage. But trust, once broken, is not easily mended. Their children felt the shift immediately. Olivia, already dealing with the emotional rollercoaster of adolescence, retreated into herself. Ethan, confused and scared, clung to Jessica, sensing her turmoil. The household, once filled with shared meals and laughter, became a silent battleground of glances, withheld conversations, and sleepless nights. David moved into the guest room. Counseling sessions began, but progress was slow and painful. Jessica vacillated between rage and sorrow. She wasn't sure what she wanted. Divorce felt like defeat, but staying felt like self-betrayal. Her friends were divided. Some urged her to leave, others reminded her that marriages are complicated and people make mistakes. One weekend, while David took the kids to visit his parents, Jessica sat alone in the kitchen. She opened an old photo album, flipping through pictures of their wedding, family vacations, birthdays, moments frozen in time when life still made sense. She began to write. Not to him, but to herself. A letter to the woman she had been, and the one she was becoming. She wrote about her hurt, her confusion, but also her strength. She remembered how she had held the family together when David lost his father. How she had worked overnight shifts and still made it to school events. How she had sacrificed her career to be present. She realized that the affair was a deep wound, but it wasn't the whole story. When David returned that Sunday evening, she asked him to sit. With steady breath, she read the letter aloud. She didn't blame him entirely, but she didn't excuse him either. She laid bare her pain, her disappointment, and most of all, her need to heal. Alone. She asked for a separation. It wasn't a dramatic scene. There were no slammed doors or harsh ultimatums. Just 2 people, once in love, recognizing that something precious had been lost. David cried. He offered to move out temporarily. Jessica nodded. The months that followed were filled with transitions. Olivia started therapy to process her emotions. Ethan adjusted slowly, asking questions Jessica answered gently. David remained involved, respectful of Jessica's space. He stopped seeing Amanda, resigned from his position at the school, and began volunteering at a local youth center. Jessica found work again, part-time at a community clinic. It felt good to be needed outside the home. She reconnected with old friends, found joy in small things, and even began writing regularly. Her journal grew into a blog, and eventually, she shared her story anonymously. The response was overwhelming. Women across the country reached out, sharing their own stories of betrayal and resilience. 1 year later, on a quiet spring morning, David came by to drop off the kids. They talked casually, comfortably. The air between them was no longer tense. Jessica smiled more easily. David looked healthier, grounded. They had dinner together that evening, not as husband and wife, but as co-parents, partners in their children's lives. They didn't reunite romantically. The damage had been too deep. But they built a new relationship, founded on mutual respect and the shared love for their children. Jessica often wondered what might have been, but she stopped clinging to the past. She realized that forgiveness wasn't always about staying. Sometimes it was about letting go. Olivia graduated high school with honors. Ethan won a science fair ribbon. Life continued. It wasn't the same, but it was real. And in its own way, beautiful. The affair had destroyed the Miller family as they knew it, but from the ashes, something different emerged. Not a fairy tale, but a testament to human endurance, the messy, painful, yet deeply courageous act of starting over. And Jessica, once broken, now stood strong not because of what she lost, but because of everything she found within herself.